There's a point in every startup journey as they scale that security requirements get more robust and you're faced with the task of migrating solutions. This process can be daunting when you have to complete the migrations quickly and don't know where to start. Hi, I'm Aditya. I'm a solutions architect at AWS for startups. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a complete app and database migrations from Heroku to AWS. This migration will be a two-step process. In the first step, we will migrate the database to AWS while the app still resides on Heroku. And in step 2, we will migrate the application to AWS and completely decommission app and database from Heroku. And with that, let's start your migration journey. So we'll start with the Heroku dashboard. I have the sample app deployed on it. So if you can see, this is a sample to-do app, and I have the Heroku Postgre add-on, which is the database. I have linked my GitHub repository, which has the sample backend app, which I have deployed on Heroku Dynos. And if we just go in settings, I'll show you the config vars, which should have the database URL, which is again the PostgreSQL database which we are using from the Heroku add-ons. If we go into the database, we can just see that it doesn't have any rows. It's just 7.6 MB. I've created a sample table, which is to do, but we don't have any records in it. So what we are going to do is just try to log in to this database. Before that, let's have a look at the front-end app. So this is a very sample React.js front-end app I have developed just to add a few records through my backend. So if you see these links, these are this is the deployed app on Heroku, which I've used to enter records to my backend. All of these are for the Heroku backend app. So my front end is basically going to call the Heroku backend app to insert records into the table. So now we can just go in the terminal and connect to the Heroku database. So I'm using Heroku CLI commands to connect to the database. So as you can see now, we have connected to the database. I'm going to just see all the tables. So we have just one table to do, which I have created for this demo. And if we just do a select statement, you see there are 0 rows right now. So there's no data in. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our front end to add a few records to this table. Basically, I'm just creating some sample data here so that we know after we do the migration, we have the data in AWS. So I've just created like few records, as you can see, in this table. So now again, let's do a select statement to see if the records are added to our table. So you can see all the records which we added are we can see those in the table. So now what we need to do is the first step is to put Heroku data and the app in maintenance mode. So again, we are going to do that by using the Heroku CLI, and let me use, So what I'm doing is Heroku maintenance :on and -a is the application name, which is Awesome Payments. So this is the app which we are going to put in the maintenance mode. So now the first step is moving the database, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick PG dump, which is going to just take all the data along with the schema, and we are going to save it into a dump file. So to do that, we have a backup command in Heroku, which is like Heroku PG backups. Again, -a is the app name. So it's taking backup now. Hopefully it should do in like few seconds because we only have few records in it right now. So the backup is done. Now the next step is to download this backup, right? So as you can see, I've just done a ls to see that there is no dump file present in my current directory. So again, we will use the Heroku CLI command to download the backup which we just took. So again, the command is Heroku PG backup download and -a and the application name. So now we can see that we have downloaded the latest.dump file, which is like the complete dump of our database. Now the next thing is to obviously create a database on AWS. In AWS, we can use relational database service. So I have already created a database on AWS. So I'll show you. So we have this awesome DB, which is already created on AWS. If you can see, currently it is publicly accessible. And the reason for this is our app will still reside on Heroku. And for our app to access the database, which we are going to migrate, it would need internet access, right? But at the end of the video, I'll show you how to disable that. So this is the endpoint of my database. And what I'm going to do now is try to connect to this RDS database and just see that there is nothing in it. There's no schema. There are no tables. And we're going to actually use this latest dump file to load that into the RDS database. So again, I'm using a PostgreSQL client to just connect to my RDS. So as you can see, the connection was successful, but there are no relations in this database right now. So it's a completely empty database. And now what we are going to do is we're going to use the latest.dump file and put that dump file into our RDS database. So again, to do that, I have a command which can help us load the dump file into the RDS database. So you can see all the endpoints which I'm using now are for the RDS, and I'm using the latest.dump file in the hash w part of the command. So again, you'll have to put the password here. So I'm putting the password and just put enter. Yeah, you can see the restore is taking place. It's creating table, it's creating the schemas, and it's done. So what we are going to do now is again connect to the RDS database and see if the data which was on Heroku now is in our RDS tables. As you can see, there were no relations. Now there is the to-do schema and relation which we can see. Let's do a quick select. Yep, we can see all the data from Heroku is now on RDS. So now we have completed the migration part. Now let's just detach the database from Heroku, turn off the maintenance mode. Yeah, so I'm just detaching the database now. That's done. I'm destroying the database now because we don't need it. And now what we need to do is basically we need to change our database URL because currently it was using Heroku's Postgre add-on. Now we need to point it to the RDS. If we go in resources, now you can see there are no add-ons. So I've just deleted the Heroku database completely. I've pointed my application to use the AWS database URL. That's where I'm completely changing the URL now. I'll paste the RDS value in here. Yeah, so that's the RDS value with the certificate. Yeah. Perfect. Now the database URL is completely updated. What we can do is now just check if the application works. Before that, we need to switch it off from the maintenance mode. So it was on maintenance. So now it's turned off from the maintenance mode. Now what we can do, quickly go on our front-end app, just refresh it to see if it loads all the records. Yep. So now these records are coming from RDS, which is the migrated database, and not from Heroku. So just try to delete few records, add few records to see if everything is working fine. Yep. Perfect. Let's go to the terminal now. And yeah, I'm going to connect to the RDS database and see whatever we updated right now is reflected in the database. So I'm just going to fire a select statement again. Yeah. So we have two records which we saw on the front-end app as well. So let's just try to add few more. Yeah. So this is a new record, add meeting. Let's add another new task 2, 3 probably. Yeah. So again, just let's do a select statement. Yeah. So now we can see that, our app is using the RDS database. There is no database on Heroku. So we have successfully migrated the database from Heroku to AWS. Our database is still public, but we are going to turn that to a private database once we are going to migrate the app. So now we are going to turn off the public access before we're going to migrate the application, because now our application will also be migrated from Heroku to AWS, right? So if you go in the settings of database, you'll find in additional configuration, just change it to not publicly accessible and just update the database. So it will take some time. You just press continue and modify database. Yeah, so apply it immediately. Yeah. So just keep refreshing. You'll see the status will change from available to modifying. So this modifying the database task will take some time. Once this is done, we can clearly see that the database will not be available publicly. Now we'll start migrating our application using the Copilot CLI to AWS. Yeah, so the modifying is complete. Now we can see the database is not publicly accessible. You can clearly see that. So now we need to use the Copilot CLI. So what I have did is I have already used the CLI to deploy my app on ECS Fargate, which is the Elastic Container Service. So you can see if I use the Copilot environment show command, I can see the Awesome Payments app and the dev environment where my application is loaded, and there's a backend service which we can describe and see. So I'm going to use Copilot SVC show backend, which is my service. So that will give me a full detail of what is deployed. So this is the endpoint which you can see, which I'm going to now use in my front end. My app is deployed on 3000 port, and my database URL is again a secure string in my parameter store. So you cannot see the value here because it has passwords. So if I can show you in my parameter store, yeah, that is my database URL, which is a secure string again, and I'm referring that in my environment variables in ECS. So basically Copilot gives you a really easy way to deploy your application. So I've just git cloned my application and used Copilot commands, which I'm going to keep a link to that in the description. So yeah, so that's the logs. So if you can see my logs of my app, those are the logs where you can clearly see the app is running on a port. So this is my backend app basically. I had a Docker file in my path of my application. So Copilot basically uses that Docker file to create an image, push it on ECR, and reference it. So this is my cluster, as you can see, and the service which is linked to a load balancer. And this is the task where the container is running my backend application basically. So this is how it will look when you will use the Copilot CLI to deploy your application in ECS Fargate. So yeah, now what we'll do is I'll show you the code again. So this was my front-end code. And if you remember in the first part, all these URLs were Heroku URLs, right? Now I've changed it to the load balancer URLs where my application is deployed. So basically now, all the URLs here, all the APIs here are pointing to the load balancer, which is again pointing to my service, which has the task and the container running. So now what we can do, quickly again test the application through front end, try to delete few records, insert few records. Yeah, I've deleted all the records and I'm going to insert few records again. Yeah. Complete meetings. So we have just added, so we have our application and the database both running on AWS now. So we are good to just go and delete the application from Heroku. So let's go to Heroku now. We still have the Awesome Payments app here. Just go to settings, click on delete app. So you'll probably have to enter the name of the app before you confirm to delete the app. Yep. Perfect. Done. So we have deleted the app. As you can see, there are no resources left on Heroku now. So we have our application and database on AWS completely migrated. Yep, and that's it. That's how easy it is. We have migrated the app and the database from Heroku to AWS. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you now have a better understanding of the process of migrating your applications from Heroku to AWS Cloud. For more additional resources and help, please visit the link in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please do subscribe to Build on AWS for more technical content for cloud builders. See you soon. Bye.